Hello and welcome to Simply Greg's 3EV. Today we are in the garage in the Fiat 500 and we are going to talk about the 2025 Volkswagen IDBUZZ. There's been a lot of controversy around this vehicle in the last 24 hours, 36 hours since they announced pricing. The IDBUZZ has been on sale in Europe for roughly a year and a half already. I first saw one in March of 2022 or early April of 2022 in the UK. So it's been on sale for quite a while in Europe, as is trend with Volkswagen. Now here in Canada, they're launching the first edition rear-wheel drive at $82,000. Now on paper it says starting at $77,000, but once you add in the destination and all that stuff, it really goes up from there. And in the United States, they're launching a Pro S, a Pro S Plus, and again launch edition as well, and that's starting at $59,995 in the United States. Now everyone has been talking about how it is horrendously expensive, which I agree, and the range isn't all that great, which I kind of agree, but I'll explain why it's not that great. Now, for people who have been complaining about the price, this has been on sale in Europe, as I mentioned, for quite a while. And even in Europe, it's not cheap. If we bring up how much it costs in France, it starts around 58,000 euros. And I believe it starts around 55,000 pounds in the UK. So definitely not cheap. And in Europe, it's also available as a panel van or a trades van with no windows or anything like that. Here in US and Canada, we're getting the long wheelbase version, so the 7-passenger, fully spec'd out IDBUZZ. And if you start adding in 4Motion on this thing here in Canada, it's $87,000, and that's, I haven't even added in any options on that whatsoever. Again, horrendously expensive, and I know people keep talking about how they keep wanting to see cheaper EVs in the marketplace, and I absolutely agree. I mean, even my Fiat that we're in right now, the starting price on this is $42,995 without any rebates. So almost $90,000 for a Volkswagen van. I understand where a lot of people are coming from, and I've actually mentioned this in a previous video where the pricing of EVs, like, I'm actually getting tired of testing all these $85,000, $90,000 EVs because they're all kind of the same, and I like to see cheaper stuff in the marketplace, but unfortunately this is what we have. And I guess you could compare the IDBUZZ to Kia EV9, even though the IDBUZZ is more of a minivan. But if you're comparing like a 3-row SUV or a 3-row vehicle, I'm looking at it right now, and I'll post these in the video. I'm just here on my laptop. A EV9 all-wheel drive starts at $68,000 Canadian, so almost $20,000 cheaper than that all-wheel drive IDBUZZ. Now, we are also talking about the range. EV9's about the same, probably just touching on 400 kilometers of range. The IDBUZZ, actually, I don't know the specs all that well. Actually, here, so the IDBUZZ rear-wheel drive, or first edition, 91 kilowatt-hour gross, 86 usable, 282 horsepower, roughly 370 kilometers of range. Now, 90 kilowatt-hour battery, 370 kilometers of range. Let's not lie here. This has the aerodynamics of a barn or a small house or of a ship. So I understand why it's not too efficient. And I also understand that people are quite apprehensive about buying a vehicle that has such small range, such a big battery, and an enormous price tag. Like an absolutely enormous price tag. And for me, the IDBUZZ always seemed like one of those niche vehicles where it's more someone, you're not cross-shopping it with anything else. You actually want to buy that vehicle. It's probably the ultimate lifestyle vehicle, the ultimate showpiece outside of a Rivian. I still think Rivians are a bit lifestyle vehicle. But yeah, here in Canada, $90,000 for a 4Motion first edition. Now maybe prices will come down. I highly doubt it, because Volkswagen could barely deal with the supply in Europe. Their factory can barely deal with supplying the European market, and I have a funny feeling the supply here in Canada and in the US is going to be very, very constrained, and we're going to see some apocalyptically high dealer markups on it. Probably not so much here in Montreal, Quebec area, but definitely in other places, and especially the US. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there, my thoughts on the IDBUZZ. Do I think it's great value? Absolutely not, but this is an it's an emotional purchase, the IDBUZZ. You're buying it because you want that specific vehicle. You're not buying it because you're looking for best value or for best bang for your buck. You're buying it because you actually want an IDBUZZ. And in my opinion, I think a lot of people will pay the price for it here in Canada and in the United States. People will pay the price. It's not a particularly rare vehicle, I find. They're kind of everywhere in Europe. You see them everywhere. We travel to Europe quite often, and yeah, they're cool to see. After you see one, you see two, you see three, and after that, just like, well, they're kind of everywhere here. But yeah, they'll be very cool to see here, but nothing special at the end of the day. And that's kind of what I don't understand, why everyone is complaining about the price and the range. Like, this has been for sale in Europe for quite a while. You can go, and it's not cheap in Europe either. You could go on to VW France, VW Germany, and you could look up all these prices. And I don't know what people were thinking, that it was going to be $50,000 here or $45,000 or whatever price. It's an expensive vehicle in Europe. It's not going to be, there's no reason for it to be a cheaper vehicle here in Canada or the United States. Like, you could have looked this up. There's been enough car reviews on the IDBUZZ, especially with things of range and so on and so forth. But also, especially in continental Europe, the charging infrastructure in Western Europe is quite good, so Germany and France. So having that little range is not really a big deal at the end of the day, because there's charging stations everywhere, as you've seen in our previous videos. So maybe having it here could be a bit of a problem if you're going on long road trips, but let's not lie to each other. Most of these are going to be used in town and charged at home, or level 2 charging anywhere. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there, make this little video on the IDBUZZ, because it's been really getting on my nerves. Everyone just is talking like, oh, it's not good value. Well, you know what? Volkswagen, we've been waiting for this for over 20 years. I remember they had some concept in 2001, so 25 years ago, 24 years ago now. Yeah, we've been waiting for it a long time. People will buy it, and I think it's one of those cases they're only going to bring in a very small amount of them. So if you want one, get one, because the used market is going to explode on them. So that's it for now. And I know we don't normally do these videos from inside a car or inside the office, but yeah, maybe thinking about liking and subscribing. And that's it. Yeah, I just wanted to give some insight on the Volkswagen IDBUZZ that was announced, that pricing was announced yesterday for it. So we'll see you again in the next video. Thank you for watching.